Hello and welcome in. I am Greg Smith, recruiting extraordinaire for Hail Varsity. I am joined once again by Steve Marik, staff writer also of Hail Varsity. We are back with another football question or not, it's not a question. We're just back with a video, football video of the week. I've had too many videos, man. The recruiting question of the week video throwing me off there. But we are back. It is sunny. I'm excited. The reason that I can't talk right now is because I'm just jacked up and fired up about this great weather that we're having. It is Greg season out there. Steve, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Greg. And I could ask you some questions if you wanted. We can make this into a question video. But I'm looking at my tree in my backyard right now. A lot of green leaves. It's getting hot. Interesting time of year. Summer has apparently hit us right now.
Yeah, seriously, that's been the thing, and it's funny because I was just out at the gas station this morning, and someone actually said to me, they're like, "Man, we just skipped over actual spring, huh? We're just into the sweltering heat."
Yeah,
Yeah, that is basically Nebraska for you. But once again, that has been your weather report brought to you by Hail Varsity. We get sponsored for that, but that is not what we are here for this week. We're here to talk about football, and one of the things that after the O'Shawn Mathis decision happened, it kind of slowed down a little bit, right? Like the transfer portal talk and all of the things that have come along with that kind of slowed down, but things are about to pick up again. So I think let's dive into the latest on Nebraska's transfer portal targets and what they're looking at this weekend. Now, Nebraska's got a big weekend actually here coming up, where two priority targets are going to be in town, both Alabama transfers, Alabama safety transfer, Kane Williams, and then Alabama defensive tackle transfer, Stephon Nguyen. So, Steve, have you had a chance to kind of look at these guys? How do you think that they would project as fits? And I guess, what do you think, first about Nebraska bringing in people at these two positions?
yeah. So Stephon Nguyen, he's been a rotational guy for his career at Alabama, but you have to remember when you're talking about Alabama, it's a machine of NFL talent, especially along the defensive lines, and so he was playing behind a lot of future NFLers right now and guys who are going to be in the league. So I wouldn't put too much on, he played at Alabama, but he never started. It's just not, if you're a rotational guy at Alabama, you can probably start at every other Power Five program in the country, I believe. So, I did try to go back and watch a little bit of him. Big guy, 6'4", about 310 pounds, a true really zero technique that kind of lines head up on the center and tries to control those A gaps. So I think if Nebraska could pull this off with Stephon Nguyen, boy, that's just continues to bolster a unit that really needed another big body, I believe, on the interior defensive line. So you have Ty Robinson right now, looking to take the next step in his career. Devin Drew is coming over from Texas Tech, who's played a lot of snaps for the Red Raiders. Those are kind of two inside guys, but I'd feel better if Nebraska's got another one who's played some major college football, and Stephon Nguyen would absolutely be that guy.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me, and you mentioned this about where he's played and kind of that true zero technique, in that if Nebraska wants to continue to run more of a multiple style of defense and still wants to have some of those 3-4 principles, you do need that guy. Like I would not, if I'm Ty Robinson, I would not love the idea of consistently having to be the guy that plays that zero technique, right? I just don't think that fully fits his skill set best. I think you can get by with him doing that, but I don't think it's something you want to make a living on when you're playing more of that 3-4, though we know that they're going to play more 4-3 as well, as they've done over the last couple of seasons. And I agree with you 100% on the point of kind of when not playing a ton and being a rotational player at Alabama, I don't think that should deter you from wanting him to join the Huskers at all. I think that you do have to look at the reality of that situation. I almost look at it this way, in that he cracked the rotation, right? I think that's a good thing in itself. And I don't, it doesn't feel like, just kind of poking around, looking at some things, it doesn't feel like Alabama was like itching for him to go. Like, I don't think that they were just necessarily pushing him out per se. And so I do think that makes it a potentially an even better addition for Nebraska's defensive line, right? They do need additional help along that line. I think that everyone can agree on that. I think that the more intriguing, I guess, or one with more question marks is the Kane Williams visit. because even having him visit, I think, has been something that has raised some eyebrows with a lot of fans on, oh, man, what does this mean for the safety position at Nebraska right now? And how does that make, how do you think that Travis Fisher feels about that group right now?
Yeah, when I first saw the Kane Williams name pop up, and he tweeted out that he was going to be taking a visit this weekend at Nebraska, I thought to myself, like, okay, they're taking another defensive back. So that's like on top of like the multiple other guys that they brought in. I think eight defensive backs in the class of 2022 for Nebraska. Four
Yeah,
of which,
across JUCO, high school,
yeah,
and
across,
Division
yeah,
One.
two of them came from Division 1 places with Tommy Hill and I'm blanking right now because there's so many of them, and then two more junior college additions with Deshaun Singleton and Javier Morton. But yeah, they're taking another guy, wanting, maybe just testing around and seeing if the interest is there. But yeah, it makes me think about, what Travis Fisher is thinking about that safety group, right? So you have Miles Farmer, who came in for an injured Deontay Williams and started the final 4 games of last season. He did okay. It was his first kind of real playing experience. But yeah, and then on the other side, you have Marquise Buford Jr., who's a true sophomore who did some really good things on the field his first year of college football on special teams. But now he's ready to take that next step and be a starting defensive guy. So it just kind of makes me, with them kind of kicking the tires on Kane Williams and seeing what kind of interest is there. It's leading me to question, okay, does Travis Fisher feel comfortable with who he's got, what he has at the safety position right now, and what's that mean for guys like Deshaun Singleton and Noah Pole Gates and other guys back there who have been kind of trying to insert themselves into the discussion at safety.
Yeah, and I think that to me was my first thought on the situation too, is that what does this mean for those other guys, and maybe not the other guys not named Miles Farmer and Marcus Buford, right? Because I think that those guys have at least some, like, they have way into the game plan, like they're going to play, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I guess I don't worry that Kane Williams would be brought in to replace Buford or Farmer. I think that those are two guys that are going to see the field a lot for Nebraska, whatever capacity they see it. I think they'll be out there. It really is about, has Deshaun Singleton really shown what the coaching staff wanted during this spring? And you mentioned Noah Pole Gates, like, where is he in all of this? You just don't hear a ton about him. He's working, he's been biding his time, and he's been behind some really veteran players that played a lot of football ahead of him, and this should be his time. But if you're him and they're trying to bring in another safety, I just don't know how you feel about that, or how that translates to how Fisher feels about the group that he has. So I do think that ends up being the big question. And I will be really curious if Kane Williams ends up being a priority after the weekend, or you get him in, you meet him, and maybe you think, okay, he's a nice guy and he's a nice player, but we don't need to upset the apple cart any more than we already have, and we can just roll with what we have. I think it's important to note that there are other needs as well, right? Like, the spots are tight, and so to bring in another defensive back, not knowing if a player at another position that you could need more will come available, is kind of interesting too. Like, that has to be in your mind.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just going back to Kane Williams' time at Alabama, he just didn't play a lot. He played in the national championship, but on special teams, and was only out there for a little bit. So in his first year at Alabama, he never really saw the field. But again, he's at Alabama. For him to get his foot in the door, earn a scholarship to Alabama from a guy like Nick Saban, and then make the team and go through his season with Alabama, that's impressive for anybody. So that he has something to work with. He has potential, and he's a big dude. Like, me and my safeties. I love big safeties. He's 6'2", 205 pounds. He's a big dude back there. And so, it just kind of like raises my interest level with him a little bit. But yeah, it's with Kane Williams, they're just kind of going off of, I guess, potential of what this guy could bring down the road if he were to be in the room and maybe push some guys. I know Kobe Bretz is still back there. Like you said, Noah Pole Gates, Isaac Gifford, it came in as a safety, but he's working as a nickel right now. So it's maybe just Kane Williams coming and visiting is kind of sending a message to those other guys in the safety room that like, hey, I need to like, kicking in a high gear here and really show and really take a starting position.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Kane Williams is in the same class as Kobe Bretts. Is that the same group? Would he have been a 21 recruit? Yeah.
Yep. He's a 4-star class of 2021. So
yeah, so what you are essentially looking at, and that's a good point, because what you're really looking at with a guy like that, it's totally different than Devin Drew or O'Shawn Mathis or even Stephon Nguyen, right? Where you're looking for it's a much older guy that is going to come in and and is expected to immediately contribute. Maybe not be a superstar, depending on the guy, but come in and be a contributor. I think Kane Williams, if he comes to Nebraska, will be more of a longer term play. To also just have another young gun in the group with that Kobe Bretts unit, because you do have to remember that they lost at least one defensive back from that class as well, right? And so that also plays into that too, is you do have to backfill some of those spots. And so I think there's more to that potential of Kane Williams coming to Nebraska, and more things there than just kind of what would be viewed as, oh man, they need another guy to immediately come in and compete at safety. He may be a longer term play.
Yeah, and one little kind of interesting fact, I don't know if we've mentioned yet, but Kane is from Marrero, Louisiana, which is the same hometown of current Nebraska's receivers coach, Mickey Joseph, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so there's that connection there, which also kind of makes me think that you wouldn't just bring him in on a flyer visit, like exactly. courtesy or anything like that.
Just something like that. Hey, you're in Kansas, come right up.
Yeah,
come right
it's
up
not,
check it out. We'll check you out. Same thing. So
yeah, so I think that the hometown connection is interesting, because that should give Nebraska a little bit of a leg up if they really do want to pursue Williams. But it's going to be a big weekend for Nebraska, and this is just the beginning of that, right? As we got, I think Memorial Day weekend will be off, but the next weekend after this one, Nebraska will have more visits. We'll be back to kind of high school recruiting and some of the stuff that's going on there. As Nebraska, I think, is going to have a lot of official visitors to finish out May and then through June. We know that, Vince Guenta really likes summer official visits, and I think Nebraska will need to have a much better hit rate this year than they did last year. But we'll definitely be talking about all that and more here on this YouTube channel and on hailvarsity.com. Make sure you subscribe to the website and the magazine. Football Yearbook is just around the corner in June. It is sneaking up on all of us rapidly. So make sure you subscribe so you still have time to get in the door for that. We will catch you guys next week.